guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tatum Temia. I am the host of the Blessed and Bossed Up podcast and the CEO of Anchor Media. Today's video, I want to update y'all on some pretty big business moves or just some things that's been going on in business lately. I recently did like 3 parts on the podcast answering business questions, and I wanted to just share a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes here. So make sure you guys are subscribed. You hit that notification bell so that you can see just the behind the scenes of all the amazing things that's happening, and also some of the stressful things that's happening as well. So let's start with amazing. One of the things I'm most excited about is we just closed on a property for my new business, Anchor Media Studios, and we'll insert a video here. It was supposed to be a vlog, but what happened was so we'll just insert it here where I just talked about how I was feeling before heading to closing. So we closed on a building at the top of May, and so right now it's the end of May, like the beginning of June when I'm recording this. Man, first of all, the blessing. The opportunity came out of nowhere, and I was thinking about it, and actually on our strategic plan for the company, I had like one of my dreams is to have these big yellow buildings in major metropolitan areas. So people are like driving in a big city and they see this crazy big yellow building with like a scripture on it or something like that. That's like my dream. And I didn't think that it was a short-term goal. So it's not even something I even wrote down to do within the next 5 years or so. But what had happened was I was getting like my makeup done for something, and my makeup artist, she has this nice space and she rents out like individual rooms in the space. And I was like, how much do you pay for this? And so she told me like how much she was leasing it for. I was like, if you're leasing, I think it was like $1,400 or something. And I was like, if you're leasing it for $1,400, I know the mortgage is like super low. I pay like $1,400 for my office, and hers is like 3 times the size of it. So I was like, And I was like, yeah, I want to own a commercial property one day, and just talking, and she's doing my makeup, and she was like, yeah, I think the building down the street is for sale. And so I was curious as to how much, and that kind of is what got me to looking at, you know, how much is commercial property, because again, in my mind, it's unattainable right now. So as I was looking, I'm like, this doesn't cost that much. So I'm like, this costs less than my house. And I was like, okay. So I saw this building that I liked, and this actually isn't even the building that we have, but this is how the process started. I saw this building that I liked. I called the realtor who was listed on it on LoopNet. So just called a random guy up, told him I was interested in seeing it. We set an appointment for me to see it. And so this put me in a position where I could ask questions. I was familiar with residential real estate from us buying our house, but I didn't know how commercial worked and buying a building and a business name and all of that. So when I was with the realtor, he was asking about the business. I was like, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here because I saw this online. I don't even know where to start with all of this. And so I was asking him just a ton of questions, and he was answering all of them for me. I'm taking notes in my phone, and I'm like, man, this is actually not that bad. It's not as unattainable as I thought it was. And I have my husband with me because you guys know he's a CPA. So when it comes to money, he got to be with me. I know how to make it, and I can do basic math to multiply it. All the details beyond that, I don't know. So I had him with me, and he asked some questions as well. And I was like, okay, cool. So that was the end of that. So I'm talking to my aunt, who is a real estate investor. So she has a couple properties on a residential side. She was actually getting ready to close on another residential property. And I was running this by her. I'm like, yeah, one day we should go in together on a commercial property. And I knew the business idea, but again, I'm thinking it's supposed to be 20 years from now or something. And she was like, oh yeah, that'll be cool. So we were just talking about it with no immediate plans. I ended up going to see another property that had came up, and then I was showing her, and we were just on this informational thing together. So once I realized it was actually obtainable, I'm like, okay, in my head, this is realistic, but let's see on paper, is it realistic for us? Meaning, are we gonna get approved for this mortgage? And you know, is this gonna work out? So just like everybody else do these days when you're looking for recommendations, you post on Facebook. I posted on Facebook looking for a commercial realtor, because I mean, you could step 2 feet outside and find a residential one. It was hard to find a commercial realtor. So a friend of mine recommended someone. I called her up and I'm like, hey, you know, introduced myself to her, let her know what I was trying to do, and I was looking at properties. And she was like, cool. I was like, but I need a lender. I don't know where to go for commercial lending. And the guy, the realtor I met, he was a he recommended me to a commercial lender, but to be honest with you, he was a white man. I'm like, I'm a young black girl. I'm kind of afraid, in a sense, to go to who he's sending me to, and I don't want to come into no issues with any prejudices or anything, just being real. So the realtor that I reached out to represent us was a black woman. I told her, like, am I gonna get discriminated against? I'm a young black girl trying to get this money. Are they gonna like send me to somebody that I don't have to deal with that? And so turns out the person that she worked with was a black person as well. I'm like, bet, okay, cool. I could just kind of not deal with the whole discrimination, racism aspect, and we can just talk about what is going on here. And the reason why I thought about that too is because the realtor that I talked to had made just a very stupid comment when we were talking. So of course my last name is Nigerian, so he's trying to make small talk, and he's like, oh, are you West African? I recognize the last name as being West African. I said my husband is Nigerian. He's from the Shakiri tribe, and I start talking about the tribe because most people only know like Igbo and Yoruba. And he was like, oh, so does he speak Nigerian too? I was like, huh? He's like, does he speak Nigerian? And I chuckled and I was like, no. You know that nervous, uncomfortable laugh? That was what I did. I was like, no. I was so stuck. I didn't know what to say. I was like, in my mind, I don't even believe that he said that until after the fact I processed it and was like, bro, what? So that was one of the reasons I was like, I don't know if because if he referred me to people that act like him, no. And he was getting, after I laughed and just kind of brushed it off, nervously laughed, he was like, I'm so glad you could take a joke. Some people can't take a joke. I'm like, when are you going to show me this building? Because I'm about to lose my salvation in a second. Like, I cannot. So, and that's another reason I brought my husband with me, because I'm like, listen, this is what this guy's on. I don't even want to deal with this. So that's another reason I didn't even want to deal with his people either. And so felt comfortable again working with a black woman who was referring me to other black people. Didn't have to deal with the ignorance. So we got the pre-qualification information, did all of that. So now we got proof that we can get the money. Let's look at some places for real now. And we did. One place we actually put an offer in. It didn't work out. They wanted us to cut the closing time down significantly, and I'm just personally not somebody who likes to cut down the time for me to do my due diligence. No, I don't rush into anything. I believe that what you do fast causes damage, and I'm not rushing into nothing. I'm good. So we was like, nah, we good. Let's move on, find something else. And we ended up finding something else. Long story short, we closed, and the process was stressful. We'll get into that for another day, and not from our side, but just some interesting things with the transaction, and I'll leave it at that. But of the blessing in it though, because again, I told you guys, I don't like to jump right into things. I like to make sure I'm doing my due diligence, even when I know it's a God thing, because this was just really a God situation. But I still want to make sure that I am being a good steward, and I'm paying attention, and I'm not just jumping into things blindly and naively that I'm gonna have to pay for later. So the blessing in it too was that there are tenants in the property, because I'm like, this is a brand new business. I need time to do the business plan. I need time to do my proper research. I need time to get the funding. And I was in a headspace at the time. I was watching a lot of documentaries. There was one show in particular that was stressing me out. It's called The Dropout on Hulu. This woman started a medical technology company. She had this idea. She raised, long story short, she raised billions and billions of dollars. The technology didn't even work. And I'm like, if I could have the audacity of somebody who can really raise billions of dollars for some tech that don't even work, why do we always feel like, and I think this is something specific for Black women, we always feel like we have to take the harder route, because we usually have to, but we don't. You know, we don't have to muscle our way through everything and bootstrap and all of that. I'm like, nah. With this new business, I'm finna raise money for it, because with Anchor Media, they're two separate entities. Yeah, there's overlap with the name. They're two legally distinct entities for a reason. And a part of my process with that too was, let me talk to my lawyer. This is what I'm trying to do. What's the best way to go about it? Should it be a subsidiary of Anchor Media, and Anchor Media is like the parent company? Should they be two separate things? Like, what's the legal structure that makes the most sense and provides me the most protection for what it is that I'm trying to do? So she advised us on what to do as it relates to that. And so we landed on two separate entities. And so I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'll use the resources I have, of course, for the down payment, because you got to pay 20%. Then you got, because there ain't no, in the residential side, you got first time home buyer programs and all of the different benefits and things that are created to help people get into their homes. Commercial side is, this is a business transaction. You either have it or you don't. It's 20%. Your credit needs to be this. You need another 3 to 5% closing costs. The appraisals, oh, you thought that they were cute, couple $100 or whatever on the residential side. No, couple thousand. So everything on this side is expensive to just get into the building. So I'm like, listen, I'm gonna use my resources to get us in this building. That's it. Like, Anchor Media has its own goals, things that we're trying to do. My bootstrapping stops at that point, or my investment into this stops at that point. And the same thing, my aunt is my business partner on there, half and half. So she brought, you know, her half and everything to the table, and I'm like, okay, that's it. We got in here, let's raise some money to get to where we're trying to go. So with that, again, it takes time, and I'm not going to neglect what God is calling me to do with Anchor Media and everything that falls under it for this new thing, this new bright shiny object. I still have to be a good steward over this and making sure that I'm doing my assignment here. And so the blessing was, because when I was praying as we were going through this process, I'm like, God, I can't just hop right into this. Like, we need to be in a position where the property is taken care of. At first I was thinking, okay, maybe I should just break my lease at my office, because at the bare minimum, the new building until we open will be my office, and I'm able to, you know, just transfer the funding that was in this place to this place. And what worked out even better is that there are tenants in the building that we ended up closing on who wanted to stay. They've been in for 5 years or so. They want to stay longer. So I was able to work it out to where they are staying to the end of the year or so, to give us time to turn it over into what we're doing with the studio. But they're able to stay in the building. That gives my aunt and I time to raise the funding we want to raise, finish the business plan, get our budget together as far as what our startup costs are going to be, of course do the work on the property itself, which doesn't require much, just like some paint, changing a couple fixtures, and just making it specific to what we're trying to do. No like major renovations are needed, but it was just worked out perfectly. And the gag is, the place that we're at used to be a TV studio, so the rooms are already soundproof and it's set up exactly for what we're trying to do. So it was just a blessing. So we are closed. It'll be opening up in 2023, because I'm gonna take my time and make sure it's done right. I'm grateful because we have this big dream, of course, like I said in the beginning, of having all of these bright yellow beautiful buildings. I can't make this building yellow unfortunately, but it's an opportunity for us to test the idea. So if you guys have been following me long enough, I always say I like to test ideas before taking them to market. And so with this, we're able to have like a low risk way, because our mortgage is not a lot. We're able to have a low risk way to test out the ideas, make any adjustments to our business plan that we need to make, any adjustments to our business model. We're able to really just start and tweak before taking it into this huge $1 million facility later down the road, where I can go as big as I envision, but I'm able to start small. It's a tangible asset Worst case scenario, we put some other tenants in there and do our own thing and collect rent or sell it. But it's just a great opportunity for us to test out this idea, work out any kinks that may arise, and then continue to upgrade and elevate from there. So I am very excited. I couldn't even imagine being 30 and having multiple properties, one on the residential side, one on the commercial side, having this successful company with Anchor Media, and now starting something else to add to my goals of being the CEO of a conglomerate, which is something I tell you guys all the time. So I'm grateful. That's probably the biggest thing that has happened over the last couple of months. Can we get to the stressful one? So we'll wrap it up here because this is getting a little long. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and then in the next video, I'm gonna tell you about some growing pains and some struggles and stress points of all that's been going on.